Oh my gosh, inflation, what do we do? Craig and Mike, you know what I do for a living. Well, you know, people call it a living. I call it I do a thing that pays the bills that I have, right?
Means to an end.
I think you both know, right?
Unless there's something I don't know.
No, I mean, yeah, we talked about it a few years ago, I think, when I was getting your advice. First, just a very special thank you to all who have supported me since the beginning of the journey of just shining a light on difficult things, on hard answers. Thank you so much for doing that. This is for you. 10 years ago, when my daughter died in a car crash, I made myself a promise. I promised that I would do a couple of things very specifically. One is that I would, everything I did and talked about through what I've learned, I would honor my other 3 kids, and I really hope I've done that. Thanks in advance for joining us. I hope you enjoy this next conversation. I'm Matt Logan, the host of This Matters in Real Life. Oh hey, stay tuned at the end of this. I'll give you some more information. So what I do is I actually deliver trucks. Like if you don't want to put them on a trailer or you can't or whatever, you know, Craig buys a truck in Florida and then I take it to Florida and deliver it to him. So that's what I do. This inflation thing, I'm so happy that it's a good thing, like the Biden administration has been saying.
Well, it's transitory, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's really, I mean, at the end of 2021 and it raising my cost 30, probably it'll shake out to 31%.
Yeah.
I mean, I just have that laying around.
Most people do.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. I just wanted to make sure we're clear on that. Mm-hmm. Hanging out again today. I'm being very sarcastic, if you haven't picked up on that yet. Is to my left.
Craig Ugland, and
Wait. I got ya. Go ahead, though.
Okay. Craig Ugland, and I am very fluent in sarcasm, so I picked up what you were laying down.
For 54 episodes, for the record, Craig has been on my left, and so we talked about off camera that Craig was on my right, and that felt weird, right? So I wanted to catch him.
Hook, line,
so
and
to my left is
Mike Marti.
Tell us about yourself quick, Mike.
Well, I'm a Casson area resident, small business owner, just an average, everyday person.
Yeah, and that's important. That's why I do this. That's why I started it. We did rename it to This Matters in Real Life because I just had a lot of comments that people really enjoyed that we talked. We had real life people. Unfortunately, you know, this is real life and real bills and everything, and so the whole team wasn't able to stay together. Mm-hmm. I appreciate everything that they had done and continue to do in their way and methods, but it's really important that we listen to people, right? And they said, hey, this really affects us in our life, and we appreciate you talking about it and kind of bringing a different light on it. So that's why we're renaming it. But inflation, you look at one headline and it says, why is inflation rising right now? You know, inflation hits another record. You look at one thing, it says 40-year inflation we haven't seen since Jimmy Carter. You know, you see all these different things. They tell you ways to fight against inflation. But the question for me is what do we do? Because did we need inflation at this scale?
Well, I don't think we asked for it. So
for sure.
So whether we need it or not, I guess is kind of hard to argue whether it was necessary or not. But I think the question needs to be is where's it coming from and what's causing it. Mm-hmm. So in 2020, our M2 money supply was $15 trillion.
Yep.
Okay. It's 21 today.
Yep.
That's an increase of $6 trillion in our money supply. That's a 40% increase, which oddly enough corresponds really closely to the inflation numbers that I'm seeing as a business owner anyhow. You know, the official number is somewhere around 7%, but I don't think there's anybody out there that actually believes that's the real number.
It's not 7%.
I haven't seen anything that's only gone up 7%.
Maybe it's 7% for the elites.
Sure. Cost of living increase for an elite at 7%. Yeah, maybe that's about right.
I don't know.
I don't think the 50% fuel cost on their yachts is only a 7% increase in cost of living.
Which is exactly your point. 7%. Where's that number coming from? Because it's not at the grocery store. It's not at the fuel pump.
It's just how government does things. They cherry pick numbers. Well, we're gonna exclude certain things because somehow fuel and food don't affect your life. That somehow fueling your car and feeding your kids isn't an expense that we're going to measure, even though those have gone absolutely through the roof.
And what does fuel, when you raise the price of fuel this significantly, what does that do?
Raises the price of absolutely everything.
Everything.
And who does it hurt the most? The people with the least.
Exactly.
Yes. Fixed income.
Yep.
I mean, all of
Low
it. I know
income.
people that have decided on fixed income, retired people that I've talked to that have sold their vehicles, and they're like, here we are. We can't, insurance has gone up, fuel's gone up. We can't really go anywhere anyway and afford it,
right?
Because our food has gone up so high. And so what do? Well, we got to cut it somewhere.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And the thing for me is that wave, right? So we see that wave coming, but it then hits at different points in different places.
Right.
And the wave is continuing. When you have inflation that rises this quickly, that wave is going to really start to smack things incredibly hard and do incredible damage.
Right.
And that's the way I see it.
Unfortunately, with people selling their cars, hasn't helped the car market because car prices have gone up 30%.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which is insane.
It's amazing when you look at the people that lease their vehicles. Okay, let's say they took a lease out on their vehicle. They leased a car 2 years ago, and the lease is now up, and they have the buyout on it, right? There's nobody that's taking them back to the dealership. Everybody is buying them out right now because the number, they can buy that car out and turn around and sell it for a huge profit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's probably the only time leasing has really made sense.
I didn't even.
Right.
And it's
I didn't
a
think
huge
about that,
deal.
but I know somebody that just did that about 2 months ago.
Yeah.
Bought their lease. For a business. They leased for business.
Right. Yep.
And which doesn't even still make sense to me personally, but that's okay.
Yep.
But they have always leased, and so they decided to buy it out. They bought it and they sold it, and they made a whole bunch of money on it.
Right.
And
I didn't
that
even think
doesn't-
about that.
And that doesn't help the used car market because that's through the roof because they're not getting any lease returns.
Right.
And so the bottom line of this inflation thing is it is so many levels that have to be considered. So that 7% is laughable.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's no question.
And even still, if it was 7% in a year's time, that's dangerous.
Absolutely. Think about it. If you're a senior citizen and you've been doing it right all your life, you've been tucking money away, putting it in a savings account or, an IRA or a money market or something like that. You're playing it safe, okay? And you've got your retirement basically set. So you're not risking it out in the market necessarily, at least if you're following some, financial advisor's advice. That's usually what they tell you to do. So in the last year, you've watched your money market make, 0.25% on interest and then lose probably 30% or more in actual value because it doesn't have any buying power anymore.
Exactly.
That's a tax. I don't care what anybody says. That's the government taxing you. Rather than increasing income taxes, they're taxing you via inflation.
That's an interesting perspective, and it's not perspective. I shouldn't even say that's actually accurate. And so, but most people don't look at that as an option, right? In a conversation, that's a tax.
Right.
But it is. It's absolutely a tax.
It totally is because all they've done, rather than taxing the dollars you have, they've just diluted them and made them worth less than they were.
Yeah,
I saw
absolutely.
a video the other day, and it was $10,000 in 10 years will be worth under like $2,700. That's how much value our dollar will be losing. It's it's what's the solution? How do you beat it?
Well,
How do you keep the value of what you have currently?
at this point, I mean,
real estate's one of them, and precious metals is one, but real estate's pretty high priced right now too.
It is, but if inflation continues the way it has, it's a bargain at today's prices, even if inflation is going to keep going this way.
That's an interesting question. I mean, I'm not giving or receiving any financial advice from you guys, but it's a conversation to have. Is there
smart to not take financial
yeah.
advice from me?
The thing with even precious metals is it seems that could even go away except for like a barter system, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
If you have physical gold or silver or whatever, if everything crashed so hard and there was some sort of like, hey, I have this gold, you have this whatever, round to it. You ever seen a round to it?
No.
You should get one.
Get around to it?
Get around to it.
Oh boy. Didn't know this was a dad jokes episode.
So, round to it is a paper plate that
Yeah.
says round to it on it. In case you were wondering, you should get one.
I'll get around
Get
to
around to it.
So, but if you have that system in place that works, the way that they're wanting to track everybody, the way that they're doing these things, would that potentially become criminal?
Sure, it has before.
Right.
In the Great Depression, I mean, gold was all confiscated. You had to have an antique coin in order to keep your gold back then. So, I mean, yeah, they could absolutely do it again.
So that's how risky it is that when we're talking about the kind of control that the Fed has here and the federal government and how that's all intertwined, it's a very huge risk to take for working class people.
Right. Well,
That's just the way I look at it.
And I mean, the reality is this, okay, if you're going to say, well, I'm going to protect my future with precious metals. Okay, and I think that's wise to do some of that. But at the same time, if things really get as bad as I think we're talking about here, can you eat a bar of gold? No. So maybe food's a little more, something to be invested in at that point. Now,
But
obviously,
you can use it to buy food.
yeah, you certainly could, as long as there's food available and someone's willing. We're talking about real scarcity here when we're talking when we're getting to the level I'm talking about, which God help us that we don't get to that.
You've seen the pictures of the grocery stores. I mean, shelves empty and, supply chain issues everywhere in the country. And the thing with the job that I do, I am driving, anywhere from, say, 3,000 to 4,000 miles a week. I'm in 7 or 8 states every week. I'm on 5 or 6 airplanes every week. And guess what that means? I get to talk to a whole lot of people, and I get to see it's a diverse group of people because I'm at hotels every night. I'm on airplanes. I'm in truck stops. I'm all these things. Yep. And so you stop and you go to the grocery store to grab a few snacks for the next day, and they don't have hardly anything, and that's real. Yeah. That's happening everywhere. And so that's what this does, is it does create this massive vacuum in these places, and that all of a sudden then you're going to have that mass hysteria because people can't get food.
Right.
It'll be like toilet paper a couple years ago.
Yeah. I mean, well, our supply chain we're seeing and we've known is extremely short and now extremely fragile.
Is it what day of delivery kind of thing?
Right.
It gets delivered the day that
yeah.
the manufacturers and the stores need it.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
just in time delivery.
There's no
is
backlog. Yeah, just in time delivery.
and
No
did
backlog on the warehouse.
kind of the 80s that really took off. In the
Yeah,
80s.
I would say 80s and into the 90s.
Into the
is
90s
when,
for sure.
Yeah,
I know it really took
we
off.
started to see it with my business. We saw it very prevalent in the late 90s into the 2000s with the warehouses not stocking nearly as much as they used to. It was just in time.
Yeah.
We're gonna try to really lean down our supply chain, which in theory is a great idea until you have something like this happen.
Yeah, it's
So
super fragile.
Until you start requiring your delivery people to have vaccines that they don't agree with. And then watch everything come to a screeching halt.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. You know, pre this trucker protest in Canada, I got a phone call and they were like, "Hey, we've got all these." So a lot of, you know, there's a lot of chassis that I'll drive. Like somebody wants to make a truck out of this blank chassis, so it's got the cab and that's it.
Yep.
And so I've you know, driven tons of those. And so he called me and he's like, "Hey, we've got all these chassis up in Canada." And I'm like, "I'm not touching that." And that was pre, right? That was pre this protest.
Yeah.
So there's these problems in different areas that people don't realize and don't understand and don't grasp. These things are real. They're having real supply chain issues. And what do these chassis do? They're food trucks.
Yeah.
They're
Fire trucks, ambulances.
Exactly. All of them.
Right.
And that's dangerous.
Absolutely.
They've taken this whole flow of everything and they've tried to narrow it down to this little thing to be COVID safe.
Yep.
And who's
And it all, unfortunately, this stems from COVID, this inflation.
Oh, completely.
No, that's not true. COVID has nothing to do with it. The policies that they've put in place.
Absolutely, right.
That,
because of COVID?
Yeah, our response
in
to
the name of
COVID is
COVID.
what caused this.
Yes.
Yeah, without a doubt.
yeah.
And who? I mean, you live this every day. You're on the road. There are more, but truck driving is an awfully isolated profession. You're in your chair in your enclosed cab for 12 hours a day with extremely minimal contact with anybody, if any contact.
That's true to a point if that's the way you want it to be, right? I choose otherwise. And
Well,
what I
social
do,
butterfly, but
right?
yes.
Yeah, I'm not in a semi. I don't do anything with a trailer ever. I don't want to.
Yep.
And so I am literally taking like the front half of a semi, the
tractor.
driving the tractor,
Yep.
and I am delivering that. So I stay in hotels. I don't, all of that kind of thing. So I choose to go interact with those people and things. But yes, you're absolutely right. You could literally have zero contact with anybody for days on end if that's what you chose to do.
Right.
For sure. 100%.
Yep. But
And-
let's completely stop your industry.
Yeah. So that, right. So
If you want to crash an economy, piss off the truckers.
Right. So they did that. Exactly. So they did that supply chain issue, and a lot of it stems from the trucking, obviously.
Yeah.
And they've tried to take this mass amount and volume of water and put it down through this itty bitty tiny funnel.
Fire hose.
Yep. You can't do it in real life.
And you can't tell me that's by accident, because what more independent group is there than truckers?
I was just gonna say that.
Maybe farmers.
Don't tread on me.
I don't know. Maybe farmers could be a little more independent, but I mean, they are the epitome of independence.
That's
For
why
sure.
they chose that career.
Absolutely.
Yep.
They're their own. Well, a lot of times they're their own bosses. They don't have to.
Yeah, I'm my
Deal
own
with other
boss.
people
It's
for
my
the most
own
part.
business. I mean, it's
Right.
I pay for everything. I get paid by that, and I have to pay for flights and fuel and all of it.
Yeah.
And that's I love it. I'm not saying that as a negative. I love
Right.
it. I'm a very independent person, and so that works really good for me.
It's like a Beyonce song.
Is it? I didn't even know that. Can you sing it for us?
Nope.
Mike, how about you?
Shannon?
No, I don't. Can you be on this show if you know Beyonce?
You can if you like know her personally.
No, just know like the songs.
The songs.
Under the bus.
I-
Under the bus.
Let me look at the contract. And so yeah, the independent factor is huge, and so they don't want these mandates. Probably, like you say, even farmers farmers are probably more independent. I mean, they really probably are.
Yeah.
But it's a close second, I
Yeah,
think, for
yeah, I would
truckers in
say.
general.
Top five.
They want to do their thing. They want to be left alone to do that. They're going to go and do what they choose to do with people like I do. And so there it is. And so you take that and jam it down into these things, and you see the problems that there are out there right now because of the trucking. You can't get
Look at
things
Canada.
places. Yeah.
I just pulled in an accent. Look at Canada and see what's
Hey.
happening up there. It's the epitome of, if you kick a beehive, they're getting exactly what they wanted
Yeah.
or asked for. not wanted to ask for.
And it looks like Trudeau is doubling down on it, which is, I mean, Canada's inflation too, I've read, is crazy, like ours is. I think it's probably a worldwide thing, really.
Oh, absolutely. All the central banks have printed money like crazy
Yeah.
in order to, I mean, you can call it a COVID response if you want, but was it just a timing thing?
Yeah.
I think it was just a really good excuse to decide we're going to, rather than mass taxing of people, we're gonna make your money
Devalue
worthless.
everything.
Yeah, like this is time. This is our
Right.
time. We're
Right.
going to do this. Yeah. I would actually think there's even evidence to that.
Mm-hmm.
So
This is the Great
not
Reset.
just a conversation.
That'd be a whole nother episode. The Great
would be,
Reset.
Oh, boy.
that would be a week's worth of episode.
Yeah, we would have to live stream for like 72 hours if we wanted to cover just a fraction of it. Should we do that? Say no.
That'd be a
Yeah.
marathon, wouldn't
Yeah, I don't think I can pull that off.
I can't either. Mike, last word.
Inflation is real, and I think it's vastly underreported, or understated at least. Really, the only way to fix it is we have to stop spending as a federal government. We have to rein in our spending, and that includes the state levels too, because the states are taking the federal money. You know, a truly fiscally responsible state would say, look, we got all this money. I mean, Minnesota got billions of dollars from the federal government. We didn't need it. We have this huge, huge surplus in this state. Why don't we just send a check back to the federal government and say, no, thank you, you don't own us? That would be refreshing.
That would be really refreshing. Craig, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. And I would say it goes down to the local level too. When I argued this with my campaign last year is, well, we have to wait for the federal money. Well, the federal money is still our money, hon.
Yes.
But thanks for watching. Do your own research. You know, watch mainstream media if you want, but do your own research and get information for yourself.
That's an interesting, let me add to that. I get a lot of questions, well, you only this and only that. You only watch Fox News. And I don't hardly watch Fox News personally. I don't know if you guys do or not. That's not my point. The point is what I do is I listen to a lot of podcasts. I do a lot of reading. And it's podcasts that are, people would say right wing, people would say left wing. I listen to all of them because I think that's the best way to form the decisions that I have to make. Is what are people talking about? It doesn't matter if I agree with it or not. That helps me form those opinions, right? So don't listen to one source unless it's us. Just listen to us. Just kidding. Make sure you hammer the like button, hammer the share button, and give us, if you're listening on Spotify, we like Spotify, give us 5 stars if you will. See you next time. Hey everybody, thanks for listening to this conversation that I just had. I was very honored to be a part of it, honored to be the host of This Matters in Real Life. I think it's extremely important to cover a lot of different things and topics and get people's opinions. When my daughter died in the car crash 10 years ago, I said that's what I would do. I would look at the answers, I would look at the truth, and I would make sure that they would intersect. They would not divorce each other. It's so often that we want answers that are not the truth. We want answers that are comfortable. We want answers that make us feel good. Well, there's a lot of things in life that it's not the case. So who am I? Well, I am you. I'm no different than you are. I eat and sleep and, all the different things. Same thing that you do. I hurt. I feel joy. I've had a lot of experience, probably just like you. I work hard, probably just like you. One of the things that you can do to support us is go to shinybrandmerch.com, where you'll see things like the sweatshirt that I have on. I work. I'm a full-time, a truck driver. What do I deliver? Well, I deliver trucks. It's a little bit different of a gig than a normal truck driver, yes, but I am what would be considered a commercial vehicle transport specialist. So about 5 to 6 days a week, I deliver trucks. I get into a truck, I go 2,000 miles, I deliver it to its new owner, I get on an airplane and I go find another one. Nothing real glamorous unless you make it that way. And I've decided that I would have a lot of conversations along the way, and some of those conversations I'll be able to share with you. Again, hey, thanks for your support. Appreciate you. We'll see you next time.